Have you ever made a decision you believed in deeply, only to feel ashamed of it later because of what others said? That quiet sinking feeling that maybe you were wrong, that maybe you failed, or worse, that you were never good enough to begin with. If you've ever felt that, you're not alone. But here's the truth no one tells you. Shame doesn't come from the decision itself. It comes from the fear of judgment, the pressure to conform, and the voice inside that says you're not allowed to choose your own path. We live in a world where everyone has an opinion about what success looks like, about what path is safe, about what you should or shouldn't do. But no one else walks in your shoes. No one else knows the battles you face just to be standing where you are now. Yet somehow we let those outside voices silence our inner truth. We second guess. We shrink. We apologize for doing what we believed was right. And over time, we begin to doubt ourselves, not because we've done wrong, but because we forgot we have the right to choose our own life. What if you never had to apologize again for being yourself? What if your past decisions, right or wrong, weren't signs of failure, but proof that you had the courage to try, to move, to grow? Every decision you've made, every risk you've taken, every time you stood alone, it wasn't weakness. It was strength. Growth isn't born from perfection. It's born from friction, from effort, from pushing through the fear of being misunderstood. You don't owe anyone an explanation for doing what felt right in your soul. You don't need permission to start over. You don't need approval to go after something bigger than people around you can understand. And that dream you have, that silent pull towards something more, it exists for a reason. And if you're waiting for someone to validate your vision, you may wait your whole life. The world doesn't reward those who blend in. It remembers the ones bold enough to stand apart. So why should you keep watching? Because this message is your mirror. It's not here to inspire you with someone else's story. It's here to awaken the strength already inside you. By the end, you'll see your past not as a weight, but as a weapon. You'll walk away with more than motivation. You'll walk away with clarity. The kind that can't be shaken by other people's opinions. Your story is far from over. And the next chapter? It begins the moment you stop being ashamed of the decisions that brought you here. Stay with this message. Let it remind you who you really are. Not who they told you to be. Not who you used to be, but who you're becoming. Bold, unshakable, and finally free. The truth is, no one remembers the people who played it safe. They remember the ones who took the hit, stood back up, and kept going. The ones who were told you can't and replied, "Watch me." That could be you. Not tomorrow. Not when you're more confident. Now. Because you don't become confident first, you earn it by deciding to move, even when you're unsure. Confidence is a result, not a requirement. And the moment you stop needing others to believe in you is the moment you start becoming unstoppable. Most people will never understand your choices, and that's okay. They weren't given your vision. They weren't given your vision. They weren't given your fire. You were. That discomfort you feel when you're judged or misunderstood. That's not a sign to stop. It's a sign you're breaking through. Growth never feels comfortable. It feels awkward, lonely, heavy. But that's the cost of rising higher. When you stop chasing approval, something incredible happens. You start attracting respect. The world begins to respond not to your fear, but to your certainty. And that certainty begins when you decide your decisions are nothing to be ashamed of. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to walk away from what no longer serves you. You are allowed to make bold, terrifying choices in pursuit of a better life. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. Most people stay stuck because they fear the unknown. But staying stuck is its own kind of suffering, quiet, invisible, and soul-crushing. There is no safety in doing nothing. But the real risk is living a life that doesn't feel like yours. And if something deep inside is telling you to move, listen to it. That's not doubt. That's direction. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need the full picture. You need one thing, not a maybe someday, but a line drawn in the sand that says, this is who I am now. Every great transformation begins with a single moment of clarity. And the moment you declare that you're done living small, done apologizing, done waiting for life to give you permission, that's the moment things begin to shift, not outside you. Inside, and once the shift happens inside, the world will have no choice but to follow. You have nothing to prove. Not to anyone. You've already survived enough to know your strength. You've already lost enough to know what matters. Now, it's time to take everything you've lived through and turn it into fuel. This is your moment to stop hiding, stop shrinking, and stop playing a role that was never written for you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. Unapologetically real. The kind of real that makes no excuses, carries no shame, and never asks for permission to exist boldly. And let that be who you are now. Let that be your power. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to live in alignment with who you truly are. Every time you adjust yourself to fit into someone else's expectations, you betray a piece of your truth. And over time, that truth begins to fade. You stop recognizing the person in the mirror. You smile for others, but feel hollow inside. That's not living. That's performing. And the longer you perform, the harder it becomes to remember what it feels like to simply be. But you can choose to stop. You can choose to be whole again. The opinions of others are not your responsibility. Their judgment, their misunderstanding, their discomfort with your growth, it's not yours to carry. You were never meant to shrink so others could feel tall. You were never meant to live small so others wouldn't feel insecure. If your light makes them uncomfortable, don't dim it. Stand taller. Shine brighter. Show them what's possible. Because if you keep playing small to make others comfortable, you'll spend your entire life bearing your power under the weight of their expectations. And one day, you'll look back and wonder what might have been if only you had trusted yourself. You don't need everyone to get it. You just need to get it yourself. When your decisions are grounded in truth, you don't need to explain them. Truth. You don't need to explain. You don't owe anyone a reason for choosing your peace, your passion, your future. The moment you stop trying to be understood is the moment you start to feel free. You begin to realize that peace doesn't come from being accepted. It comes from being aligned. Alignment with your values, your vision, your voice. And that alignment begins when you stop apologizing for who you are becoming. It takes courage to walk away from what you've outgrown. It takes strength to say no when others expect a yes. But your evolution is not up for debate. You're not obligated to stay the same person people used to know. Growth demands change, and change demands boundaries. Some people won't come with you. Some won't understand your new standards. Let them go. Not out of bitterness, but out of love for yourself, for your path, for the future you're building. There is no shame in choosing yourself. There is no shame in walking away from what kept you stuck. Your freedom lives on the other side of that decision. And when you finally stop explaining, stop defending, stop seeking approval, something inside shifts. You feel lighter, clearer, stronger. You begin to trust that your life is yours to shape. Your past no longer defines you. Your mistakes no longer haunt you. And your future no longer feels out of reach. That's what happens when you own your choices. You take your power back. You silence the noise. You become the author of your life again. And that's where everything changes, not outside, but within. Not someday, but right now. This is the moment you rise. There's a quiet kind of strength in choosing yourself, especially when the world tells you not to. When you decide to honor your values, your voice, your inner compass, you're not just making a choice, you're reclaiming your identity. You're telling life, this is who I am now. And that decision doesn't need to be dramatic or loud. It just needs to be real. Because real change doesn't come from shouting. It comes from choosing. Again and again. Even when no one claps. Even when no one sees. Especially then. You were not created to blend in with the noise. You were made to rise above it. To think for yourself. To move with intention. To choose paths that others are too afraid to walk. And sometimes that means disappointing people. Sometimes that means standing alone. But solitude isn't weakness. It's clarity. In the silence, you start to hear your own truth again. And when you hear it, really hear it, you begin to realize how much of your life was spent living for others, their expectations, their comfort, their plans, but not anymore. Not from this moment forward. The world may not celebrate your courage. It may not validate your decisions, but validation isn't what you're after. Freedom is. Inner freedom. The kind that comes when your actions match your beliefs. When your outside life reflects your inside truth. That alignment is rare. It's powerful, and it's available to you the moment you stop asking for permission to be who you are. You don't need permission to be different, to go slower, to go faster, to begin again. You don't need to justify your growth to anyone who hasn't lived your life. There is power in simply saying, this matters to me. No justification, no apology, just truth, your truth, your truth. And the more you speak it, the more you'll realize that your voice is not fragile. It's fierce. And the moment you trust it is the moment you begin to lead your life from a place of wholeness, not fear. That's where real self-respect begins. Not in being liked, but in being honest, Not in following the crowd, but in following your soul. That's what transforms a life. Not louder opinions, but deeper convictions. If you want peace, you have to stop fighting yourself. Stop second-guessing decisions that felt right when you made them. Stop shaming yourself for doing what you had to do to survive, to grow, to evolve. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are on a path only you can walk. And the more you trust that path, the less you'll need outside noise to guide you. This is your time to shift from reaction to intention. From doubt to direction. From shame to ownership. You are not a mistake. You are not lost. You are becoming stronger, clearer, bolder. And every decision you've made has led you here for a reason. Honor that and move forward, not with fear, but with full belief in who you are becoming. Everything you've been through has prepared you for this moment. The doubt, the pain, the silent battles you never spoke about, none of it was wasted. Every choice, even the ones that didn't turn out the way you hoped, shaped the strength you carry now. You didn't fall behind. You gained something no one else can see. Experience, resilience, clarity. The world teaches you to regret your past, to be ashamed of the moments where you struggled. But the truth is, those were the moments you grew the most. That is what growth really looks like. Unpolished, uncomfortable, and absolutely necessary. You don't need to erase your past to build your future. You just need to own it. Fully. Without shame. Without apology. Without filtering your truth to make others feel better. You made decisions with the knowledge you had at the time, with the strength you had available, and the courage to try when nothing was guaranteed. That matters. That counts. That makes you more than enough. The only thing you owe yourself now is permission to rise, to evolve, to stop carrying guilt for doing what you needed to survive. Let go of the idea that you must be perfect to be powerful. Power comes from authenticity, not performance. From choosing to be honest, not polished. When you stand in that truth, even imperfectly, you become magnetic. Not because you're flawless, but because you're real. People feel that. You feel that. And once you start living in truth, the fear of judgment begins to lose its grip. You stop trying to fit into spaces that were never built for someone like you. You start creating your own space, one grounded in integrity, not image. The greatest shift happens when you realize you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Not your worth, not your potential, not your dreams. The moment you release that pressure, you unlock a version of yourself that doesn't wait, doesn't hide, doesn't ask for validation. You move with clarity. You act with purpose. And that kind of momentum doesn't come from outside approval. It comes from within, quiet, grounded, unshakable. That's the power of owning your decisions. That's the freedom of knowing you're not here to live a scripted life written by others, even when no one claps, even when it feels like no one sees you. You keep going, not because it's easy, not because it always makes sense, but because deep down, you know this is who you were born to be. Someone who doesn't quit when it gets hard. Someone who doesn't fold under pressure. Someone who stands even when standing feels like the hardest thing to do. You're not becoming someone new. You're returning to who you were before the world told you to be small. That version of you still lives inside. And every time you choose yourself, that voice grows louder. Trust it, follow it, and never, ever be ashamed of where it's leading you. The world may question your path, but you must never question your worth. You are not defined by the approval you receive or the silence that follows your boldest choices. You are defined by the courage it takes to keep moving forward when no one claps, when no one sees, when the outcome is still unknown. That's what real strength is, not in how loud you are, but in how deeply you trust yourself when everything around you feels uncertain. Doubt will always whisper. Fear will always try to convince you to turn back, but your purpose doesn't live in comfort. It lives in conviction. You're not here to explain yourself. You're here to express yourself fully, honestly, unapologetically. And that expression will cost you something. Comfort, maybe approval, maybe relationships that only knew a version of you that no longer exists. But what you gain in return is everything. You gain clarity. You gain alignment. You gain the kind of peace that can't be bought because it's earned. Earned through the fire of owning your story, owning your decisions, and refusing to shrink into someone else's mold. It is not your job to convince others of your vision. Most people won't see it until it's already real, until the results are undeniable. But by then, you won't need them to believe because you already will. That's what builds momentum. Not waiting for signs, not asking for guarantees, but acting from belief, trusting that your life, your choices, your path matter whether or not anyone else understands them. And the more you move in that kind of belief, the more powerful you become. Not because you're louder, but because you're rooted, grounded, whole. Let go of the need to look strong all the time. Let go of the fear of being misunderstood. Let go of the pressure to get everything right. What matters is that you keep showing up. Keep choosing yourself. Keep stepping toward the version of you that doesn't hide, doesn't doubt, doesn't wait. Because that version is already inside you, waiting for space to breathe. Waiting for you to finally say, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be real. That's where your power begins. In truth, in self-respect, in quiet, unwavering commitment to who you are becoming. Every time you doubt yourself, remember this. The fact that you're still here means there is more for you. More growth, more strength, more depth. And yes, more decisions that may not make sense to anyone else. But that's okay. They don't have to, because this is your life, your race, your journey. And the people meant to walk with you will never need an explanation. They'll recognize your energy, your intention, your heart. Everyone else, let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them watch. But don't you dare slow down. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where you need to be. Keep going. Keep choosing. Keep becoming. You've come too far to question the fire that brought you here. Too many steps taken. Too many battles won in silence. Too much pain turned into progress. This journey wasn't meant to be perfect. It was meant to be yours. Messy, uncertain, but real. And the fact that you're still moving, still reaching, still refusing to give up, that's proof of something deeper than motivation. That's proof of purpose. Something in you refuses to quit, even when no one understands why you keep going. That's not weakness. That's what strength actually looks like. You don't need the world to see your effort, to make it valid. You don't need the outside world to applaud before you believe in your inner world. Every decision you made that didn't work out still served you. It showed you what you're made of. It revealed your resilience. It sharpened your vision. Stop punishing yourself for not knowing then what you know now. Growth is messy. Evolution is uncomfortable. But you were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to rise, and rising demands risk. It demands that you trust yourself when no outcome is guaranteed and no path is clear. If you wait for certainty, you'll wait forever. If you wait until you feel fearless, you'll stay stuck. The shift happens when you move anyway. With fear in your chest and fire in your soul, you move, you speak, you decide. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You are not here to live a life that looks safe on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. You are here to build something real, something that makes you proud. And real doesn't mean perfect. Real means honest. It means aligned. It means aligned. It means waking up and knowing you are living for more than just comfort or approval. You are allowed to outgrow what once fit you. You are allowed to walk away from what once felt like home. Not every chapter is meant to be forever. Some were just lessons. Some were launch pads. Some were reminders that you were made for more. Stop shrinking to fit into spaces you've already evolved beyond. Stop trying to explain the new you to people who are committed to remembering the old you. You don't need to be understood by everyone. You just need to be respected by yourself. And respect begins with the decision to trust your own path, even when it's silent, even when it's different, even when it's hard. This is your reminder that you're not lost, you're not behind, you're not failing, you're becoming. And becoming is loud on the inside, quiet on the outside. That's why so few understand it, but you do. You feel it. You know there's something in you that's ready to be unleashed. Let it out. Let it rise. Let it lead. You are not here to be accepted. You are here to be free. And the moment you choose that freedom, your life begins to change. Forever. Freedom begins the moment you stop living for the expectations of people who don't carry your vision. You were not born to meet a checklist of what others think your life should look like. You were born to create something that feels like truth to you. That truth doesn't need to be explained, defended, or packaged to please the world. It only needs to be lived, fully, boldly, without apology. That's where your real life starts. Not when you're accepted by everyone, but when you're finally accepted by yourself. Every time you hesitate to act because of what someone might think, you delay your future. Every time you silence your own voice to keep the peace, you lose a piece of yourself. That's not strength, that's self-abandonment. And the more you abandon yourself to belong, the more disconnected you feel from everything that matters. Because real belonging isn't about being accepted by others. It's about being aligned with yourself. That's the kind of alignment that builds confidence from the inside out. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that shows up with presence, speaks with conviction, and moves with purpose. No one else has your exact voice. No one else carries your exact story. And no one else can make the decisions that were placed on your heart for a reason. When you choose yourself, you're not being selfish. You're being responsible. Responsible for your energy. Responsible for your dreams. Responsible for honoring the one life you've been given. That responsibility starts with letting go of shame. Shame serves no one. It only keeps you small. It keeps you doubting what you were meant to own. And what you were meant to own is your evolution. Growth doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it looks like walking away. Sometimes it looks like saying no to what once felt like everything. Sometimes it means choosing silence so you can hear your own soul again. But every time you choose growth over comfort, your future expands. Every time you choose growth over expect you to stay the same. Let it confuse them. It's not your job to make your transformation digestible. It's your job to make it real. And real means you'll lose people. Real means you'll be misunderstood. But real also means you'll wake up proud of who you are. The version of you that is waiting on the other side of your decisions is not fragile. That version is focused, clear, unafraid to be seen in full light. And you reach that version not by doing what's expected, but by doing what's necessary. Necessary for peace. Necessary for growth. Necessary for becoming who you were meant to be before the world convinced you to play it safe. So stand firm in your direction. Own your choices. And remind yourself every single day, your decisions are not something to regret. They are something to respect. Because they are shaping you into someone unshakable. Respect begins when you stop questioning the value of your own voice. When you stop asking whether your desires are too much, your goals too ambitious, your path too different. You were not meant to be a copy of someone else's comfort zone. You were built to lead, to create, to transform not only your life, but the lives of those who will be impacted by your decision to be bold. Every step you've taken toward growth has been a declaration that you refuse to stay silent in a world that tries to keep you small. That decision alone is power. There is nothing more magnetic than someone who has made peace with who they are. Not because they are perfect, but because they've accepted their imperfections without shame. Not because they never made mistakes, but because they've stopped letting their mistakes define them. That kind of peace doesn't come from fixing yourself. It comes from choosing yourself, choosing to stop hiding, choosing to stop performing, choosing to start trusting the voice within, even when it contradicts the noise around you, especially then, because your life only begins when you stop outsourcing your direction to the opinions of others. If your decision brings you closer to who you truly are, then it was never a wrong one. It was necessary, even if it didn't turn out the way you planned, even if others didn't understand. You are not here to live a life free from challenge. You are here to live a life that feels honest. And honesty requires risk. It demands that you say yes when everything around you says no. It asks you to keep walking when the path disappears beneath your feet. That is not weakness. That is self-leadership. And self-leadership is what separates the aligned from the lost. No more apologizing for growing faster than others expected. No more shrinking to fit into old identities that no longer match your vision. Every time you pretend to be someone you're not, you reinforce the belief that who you truly are isn't enough. But you are enough. You've always been enough. Even in your most uncertain moments, even when you were still figuring it out, the people who deserve to walk with you in this next season will recognize your truth without explanation. Let go of the rest. Let go of the noise. Let go of the weight that never belonged to you. Your freedom is already here, not in a distant future, not after some perfect result, but right now in your ability to choose your direction without shame, to honor your decisions without regret, to rise without asking for permission. The world does not give you that kind of power. You claim it. And when you do, everything changes, not because the world suddenly understands you, but because you finally understand yourself. That clarity is the foundation of everything you're building, and it all starts with one truth: your decisions, your voice, your path are more than valid. They are your legacy in motion. There is a fierce power in accepting your choices without hesitation. The moment you stop carrying the weight of regret, shame begins to lose its hold. Regret tries to trap you in a story where you are the victim of your past decisions. But the truth is, every choice, right or wrong, was a step forward. Even missteps have meaning. They teach you. They sharpen you. They show you the edge between comfort and growth. You don't need to rewind a race or explain. You need to move forward with clarity and courage, knowing your path is uniquely yours and worthy of respect. This freedom comes from understanding that your decisions are reflections of your truth at that moment. You made them with the knowledge, feelings, and strength you had then. It is unfair to measure those decisions by the standards of your future self. Growth is a process, not a one-time event. It demands patience, especially with yourself. When you finally grant yourself that patience, you release the burden of self-judgment. You allow space for transformation that is honest and lasting. That is where real power is born. The fear of being misunderstood or judged is natural, but it doesn't deserve the power you give it. People's opinions are often based on their own fears, limitations, or expectations, not on who you truly are or what you are capable of becoming. The only judgment that matters is your own. When you hold firm to your inner compass, you gain the strength to stand in your truth even when others cannot see it. This is the essence of courage, not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Every step you take in this way is a testament to your inner resilience. You don't need external validation to justify your journey. The world may not always celebrate your decisions, but that does not diminish their value. When you choose yourself first, you build a foundation that no criticism can shake. That foundation grows stronger with every choice you make aligned with your deepest purpose. You learn to trust your instincts over the noise. You learn to listen to the quiet voice inside, the one that knows what you need long before the world tells you what you should want. Releasing shame means reclaiming your narrative. It means taking control of the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve. It means stepping out of the shadow of a what could have been and stepping fully into a what is possible. This shift in mindset is revolutionary because it frees you from the paralysis of perfectionism and fear. It allows you to act boldly, to take risks, and to pursue what sets your soul on fire without hesitation or apology. Remember, the path of self-trust is not always easy, but it is necessary. It asks you to be honest with yourself about where you've been and where you want to go. It demands you hold your head high, even when the way forward is unclear. This path is yours to claim, and it begins with one simple decision: to never be ashamed of your choices. To see them as the stepping stones they truly are, leading you toward a life lived with purpose, passion, and unshakable confidence. Your decisions are not your chains. They are your wings. Every choice you make is an act of bravery, a declaration that you will not be confined by fear or doubt. When you fully embrace your decisions, you claim ownership of your life in a way that no one can take away from you. This ownership is more than just acceptance. It is empowerment that allows you to face uncertainty with steadiness, to stand tall, even when the world questions your path. It means recognizing that your decisions, whether celebrated or criticized, are the building blocks of your future. They are the seeds you plant for the life you want to grow. You must remember that shame only thrives in the darkness of secrecy and silence. The moment you acknowledge your choices without guilt, you shine a light on your journey and weaken shame's grip. Transparency with yourself is a radical act. It frees you from the burden of hiding parts of your story and allows you to move forward with authenticity. This authenticity is magnetic. It attracts the people, opportunities, and experiences aligned with your true self. When you live openly and honestly, you create space for growth that is deep and lasting. The internal dialogue you hold about your decisions shapes your reality far more than any external opinion. Negative self-talk chips away at confidence, while compassionate self-talk builds it up. Choose to speak to yourself with kindness and respect. Celebrate your courage to decide, even when the outcome is uncertain. Celebrate your willingness to risk and grow. This shift in mindset rewires your brain to focus on possibility instead of failure, on progress instead of perfection. It creates a powerful foundation that supports resilience and fuels momentum. It's essential to recognize that growth is rarely linear. There will be moments of doubt, setbacks, and unexpected challenges. But these moments are not signs that you should retreat or regret your choices. They are tests that refine your character and deepen your commitment to your vision. The stronger your connection to your purpose, the easier it becomes to navigate these storms without losing sight of who you are and where you're going. Remember, diamonds form under pressure, and so does your strength. Holding on to shame or regret is like carrying a heavy weight on a journey that requires lightness and speed. Every step you take in freedom from these burdens is a step closer to living fully. Your decisions are not mistakes to hide. They are lessons to own. Owning them doesn't mean you won't make different choices in the future, but it means you honor the growth that comes from each one. Honor creates a cycle of positive change, where each decision propels you forward with greater wisdom and courage. You are more powerful than the doubts that try to hold you back. You are more capable than the fears that whisper you should stop. The moment you claim your decisions without shame is the moment you step into your highest potential. You become unstoppable, not because the road is easy, but because your resolve is unbreakable. This is your truth. Your choices are not chains, but wings. They are not failures, but stepping stones. They are the foundation of the extraordinary life you are building with every breath, every step, every bold yes to yourself. The true power of your decisions lies not in their outcome, but in the courage it takes to make them. Each choice is a statement of faith. Faith in yourself, in your vision, and in your ability to grow beyond what you once thought possible. This faith is a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Doubt will try to infiltrate, but with every decision you own without shame, you build an unshakable foundation of trust in yourself. Trust that no matter what happens, you have what it takes to face it, learn from it, and move forward. You must stop waiting for permission to live boldly. Waiting only delays your potential and dims your light. The world does not owe you understanding or approval. That comes only after you claim your power from within. When you decide to stop apologizing for your path, you create space for clarity and confidence to grow. This clarity is not just about knowing your next step. It's about recognizing that your journey is yours alone, and it does not require validation to be valuable. This understanding frees you from the chains of comparison and fear. There is a profound psychological truth in accepting your decisions fully. It rewires your mind to focus on growth rather than fear. When shame or regret dominate your thoughts, your brain's natural response is to protect and retreat. But when you replace those feelings with acceptance and respect for your choices, you activate resilience and creativity. You open new neural pathways that empower you to see challenges as opportunities. This shift transforms hesitation into action and paralysis into momentum. Your mind will try to convince you that safety lies in avoiding risk, but real safety is found in authenticity. Living according to your truth creates inner harmony that external circumstances cannot shake. This harmony is the anchor that holds you steady in uncertainty. When you honor your decisions, you send a message to yourself and the universe that you are ready to lead your life, no matter the obstacles. This readiness is magnetic. It attracts support, inspiration, and opportunities aligned with your purpose. Choosing yourself means embracing imperfection. It means understanding that growth involves mistakes and failures, not as endpoints, but as vital steps in your evolution. Every time you shy away from your choices out of fear or shame, you deny yourself the chance to become stronger. Every time you embrace your decisions with courage, you reinforce your identity as someone who does not settle for less than their full potential. This identity becomes a source of unstoppable strength. You must remember that your journey is a process, not a race. Patience with yourself fuels persistence. Compassion for your past choices fuels progress. When you release the need to be perfect or right, you make space for creativity and innovation. This is where transformation happens. This is where the life you dream of begins to take shape, one fearless decision at a time. Your courage to own your path without shame or apology is the catalyst for a future defined not by fear, but by unstoppable growth and fulfillment. True transformation begins when you release the need to be understood by everyone. The weight of others' opinions can be crushing, but it is only as heavy as you allow it to be. When you stop seeking universal approval, you reclaim the energy that was once spent on fear and doubt. This energy becomes your fuel, the fuel for relentless forward motion. You are no longer controlled by the judgments of others because your validation comes from within. You know your worth is not tied to external applause. It is rooted deep in the unshakable belief that your decisions are part of your unique journey toward becoming the person you are meant to be. You have the power to rewrite the narrative that holds you back. Every time shame tries to sneak in, remind yourself that decisions are not chains. They are choices. Choices made with the best knowledge and courage available at that moment. This shift in perspective is not just an idea. It is a fundamental change in how your brain processes challenges and setbacks. When you view decisions as empowering rather than limiting, you open doors to creativity, resilience, and growth. Your mind learns to see opportunities where once it saw threats, and this is the key to breaking free from patterns of self-doubt and hesitation. Let go of the illusion that the path to success or happiness is supposed to be smooth and free of mistakes. Growth is messy and complicated. It requires you to be vulnerable, to face uncomfortable truths, and to accept that perfection is an illusion. When you give yourself permission to be imperfect, you unlock your true potential. You stop holding back and start living with passion and purpose. This permission is a gift you give yourself, a radical act of self-love that allows you to move beyond fear and into freedom. Every moment you spend doubting your decisions is a moment stolen from your potential. Each second wasted on regret is energy that could be redirected into action. The truth is, your life will never be perfect, and your choices will never be flawless. But when you accept that, you find peace. Peace that propels you forward with determination instead of holding you back with guilt. Peace that lets you say yes to yourself, your dreams, and the uncertainty of growth with open arms. Courage to own your decisions without shame transforms your relationship with yourself. It builds an inner fortress that no external force can breach. This fortress is built on self-respect, authenticity, and the fierce determination to live life on your terms. When you stand in this strength, you no longer need to explain or justify your path. Your energy shifts from defending to creating, from reacting to leading. You become the architect of your destiny, shaping your world through the power of your choices. Your decisions are not the end of the story. They are the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter defined by freedom, courage, and relentless self-trust. This is your moment to step fully into your power, to honor your journey, and to embrace every choice as a vital piece of the extraordinary life you are building. You are ready? Your time is now.